For Creamer Media's Policy, I'm Sashnee Moodley. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss ethics and politics, fruitless enquiry. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
You constantly return to the question of ethics. Is there any possibility of this having any effect?
Yes, I wonder if people are getting a bit bored with this, but at the same time, I write this because a lot of people are cynical about politics today. They don't trust anyone in politics. Some people say this is politics everywhere, or they think there's nothing that you can do about it here, and they have a sense of hopelessness, helplessness, disillusionment. As one friend of mine says, it's all very distressing, and maybe he'll watch this. And so I'm speaking into that mood because I'm trying to unpack what it means to work towards an ethical politics, why it is important. Because when you say that we want ethical leadership, you're really saying we want a leadership that we can trust. And it's when that trust is broken down, and I think that's one of the reasons why we are seeing the drop in the ANC's vote tally, that people have a sense that they've been let down. But when people, when that breaks down, you lose your authority as a government or as a head of state. If people don't believe that what you say will be carried out, you lose some authority. And when you lose authority, it can also have practical effects in the sense that citizens may well do things that they conceive as a protest, not on party political grounds, but on grounds of not getting what they're entitled to get constitutionally, and money being diverted. Now, the e-tolls thing is an example. Personally, I don't feel so strongly about e-tolls, but I think that e-tolls, the boycott of payment, is an expression of people's sense that money is being misused, that other money could have been used to finance these things. Also, I think when you have Brian Moodley saying the reason why we have these power outages is because of electricity, illegal electricity connections. Why do we have illegal electricity connections? It's not just because people are inherently dishonest and they want to get their electricity on the cheap. They actually do it because electricity is a basic need which is not being met, and the only way that some people can get it is through illegal means. So I think it's very important that you have a relationship between the population and the government where they basically trust you and they believe that your word is your bond, and if they don't do this, there can be, it can have effects in terms of the smooth functioning of a range of institutions in society. And that is, I think, what we are seeing now.
But your article moves beyond politics or the ANC and argues that there are wellsprings of goodwill that can be drawn on to promote ethical conduct.
Yes, you see, what I think people obviously ask is, if you are advocating that various people act ethically, from where do we draw these ethical norms? Some people are Christians, some are atheists, some don't believe in anything, some believe just in stealing. So where do you get this from? And what I was thinking about is that in our society, there are a lot of acts of kindness that actually we don't take note of. And those acts of kindness, those well springs of goodwill are there and they can be built on. They're also well springs of ill will, bad faith and aggression towards people, bumping people, not saying sorry, and rudeness, uncalled for rudeness, no reason whatsoever for aggression. Now, what was interesting to me the other day, I was listening to 702 and a woman phoned in, a white woman, and she said she's collecting things to reconstruct the shacks that have been destroyed in the Sandspruit informal settlement. And she seemed to know a lot about the type of things they needed, very technical requirements that she had. And she made this request. And then Xolani Gwala said to her, do you represent a particular organization? So she said, no, we're just concerned citizens. This happens every winter. In fact, it happens the second time, I think, this winter, she said. And then she hung up. Now, after the show, I tweeted and asked for the person's name and surname because I didn't hear it properly. I was driving. And they sent me just her name and her cell number. Now, at first I didn't really want to contact because I wasn't going to write a story about what they were doing. I was just going to use it in an article or something like this. Anyway, I SMS'd this person and she phoned me up. And it turns out that her name is Kate Lorimer, and she is a DA MPL member of the provincial legislature. And I was impressed with the fact that she didn't say on the 702 that she's a DA MPL. She just said this is a humanitarian thing and she wants to assist with this. And you know, we knew of one another. I had known who her father was and things like that. We had a very cordial discussion without her trying to get me to join the DA or vote DA or anything like this. It was very cordial, and I was impressed with that. But I was more impressed when she just phoned. And I thought this gives one an illustration of the things that are happening out there which are not acknowledged, they're not reported on in newspapers. I've got a friend who uses a wheelchair, and I was talking to him about this, and he says to me that sometimes he goes along and someone just starts pushing him, and then he says, the people sometimes say, look, I know you people don't like being pushed, but I just feel like doing it. And and then I said to him, but you also complain that sometimes people are parked in the places that are reserved. People who are completely without any disability parked in those places. He says, yes. So what we've got in South Africa, like all countries, is ill will and goodwill. And we mustn't think that there's not a basis for building or rebuilding, because there are some people who have formed bonds of caring, of concern, of compassion between themselves and other people, and they've broken those bonds. So it's not as if they know nothing about it. And I think this is what has happened with the ANC, that one of the reasons why it's losing votes is that the support base that it used to have feels that the concern that the ANC, that drove the ANC originally, the pain that the ANC used to feel about the plight of the oppressed is no longer there. That connection has been ruptured. Now, at a macro level, we need to reconnect, but also in our own lives. What I was saying is, what I'm talking about is not a foreign concept that you have to read in Aristotle or Plato or something. It's actually how you live your own life already, because if you have a child, you are concerned your child is not run over by a car, things like that. Now we need to have that sort of concern in our everyday life.
Thank you, Professor. That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Policy about ethics and politics, fruitless inquiry.